Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Exit Planning Institute year-end recap and forecast. My name is Scott Snider, and I am the Vice President here at the Exit Planning Institute. I really appreciate everybody joining us here today as we kind of go through every year. Usually every January we go through this webinar. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes, and we do kind of, for lack of better words, kind of a State of the Union address, or perhaps a state of the exit planning market address as it relates to our EPI community and kind of beyond into the marketplace itself. For those of you joining us here today, you're actually joining us through one of our many webinar series that we'll have this year. This particular webinar series is our monthly member access webinar series, our first one of the year. Our next one, if you'd like to be on it, please mark your calendars for February 8th. We'll have some SEPA success stories around owner engagement tactics. Nonetheless, if you're a non-member that's on this webinar, we've opened it up, since it's kind of a year-end, a year-end recap and a 2018 forecast. We've opened it up to all of our non-member advisors and, frankly, friends inside of our community as well. If you're someone sitting on this webinar that's a part of our chapter, you can kind of understand that, we're certainly a community. I was just in Nashville to start this week, and we were talking about how, at that particular meeting, how exit planning is actually more of a community than it is a competition. And though EPI has several SEPAs across the United States and frankly around the globe, EPI and SEPAs alike really work with thousands of different advisors every year through the multiple different programs, both in person and online, and through our chapter network. Saying that, this monthly member access webinar for January has been opened up to everybody inside of our EPI community. If you're a SEPA on this webinar, you will have a series of these throughout the year, once a month, where somebody from my team here at the Exit Planning Institute will take you through either a success story around a particular subject, or different tools or techniques or tactics that we're learning about, or even how to more effectively use the Member Center. But nonetheless, that is this series, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about our future 2018 initiative. So with that, I think most on this webinar and looking at the attendance list kind of know me or have seen me or heard me speak in and around our EPI community. I act as the Vice President here at the Exit Planning Institute, primarily doing, I would say, three things: working with folks like all of you, our clients, our partners, our other advisors that interact with us and engage with us in our community, would be one of my number one priorities. Secondly, I run all of our operations here for the Exit Planning Institute, and three, am in charge of the implementation of our overall growth strategy. On top of that, I am the operating partner for our parent company, Snider Premier Growth. So again, I appreciate everybody on this call here today. So let's talk today about some key takeaways. So this is kind of what we're going to look at in our webinar here today, in really three overall segments. Number one, we're going to look at our kind of continued momentum in 2017. So we're going to kind of review our major milestones inside of our EPI community. Number two, we're going to look at the state of the exit planning marketplace. Where do I believe, or where do, really in the opinions of some of the high-level SEPAs, our chapter presidents, Chris and I, where do we really believe the exit planning marketplace is heading? And then last but not least, how will SEPAs and EPI as a whole lead or continue to lead that marketplace in 2018? So let's dive into that. Number one, I'd like to remind everybody of our brand promise to all of our clients and partners on our webinar here today. Really three things that EPI kind of promises all of our clients and partners. Number one, and first and foremost, frankly, is providing the best content in the industry as it relates to value acceleration and exit planning. I believe that we have the best content that there is, and providing you all of that as well. Number two, to provide ongoing support and advisor development. And number three, to provide a platform for connectivities to really the end user, right, the business owner. So I just like to start by reminding of that when we operate and when we develop programs or solutions or other products that will help our advisors continue to build and stay strong. We do that with these three things in mind. So I wanted to start today by really reviewing three key themes that you probably saw inside of the Exit Planning Institute and the exit planning community in 2017. Whether it would be at one of our national programs, if you came through the Certified Exit Planning Advisor Credentialing Program, whether you came and attended our international or the Exit Planning Summit that was moved from Naples to Scottsdale, or perhaps it was through some of our chapter network or seeing me or Chris or perhaps hearing Brooke speak at one of those events or online, we carried three major themes. Our first theme was that we celebrated our 10th anniversary of the Certified Exit Planning Advisor credential. So EPI was founded in 2005 by Rich Jackham and Pete Chrisman. And it wasn't really until 2007 that they developed the Certified Exit Planning Advisor program and hosted it in Chicago and had about 50 people throughout that year attend that class. Then kind of moving into 2008, they certified about another 50 where they, so in the first couple of years, they kind of had their first 100 SEPAs out there in the marketplace. So, we celebrated and kind of frankly used it as a reflection, looking back at 2017 at some of our successes and kind of our come from, kind of talk about a marketplace that's ever evolving, both from the end user, the business owners evolving, all the way to us, the advisor serving those business owners. We have come a long way since 2007. And we kind of celebrated that throughout the year through celebrating those 10 years of excellence. So a big congratulations really to everybody, especially Pete Chrisman and Rich Jackham, who are the founders of not only this organization, but I think widely considered perhaps some of the original founders, if not the original founders of exit planning. So, if you were with us at the summit, you heard me kind of thank Pete, and really when I reflected back on it, I don't know if me and Chris would have really been around if it wasn't for Pete kind of being that original thought leader and innovator, kind of sitting at his desk and asking himself the question as an investment banker who had just sold his client's company for millions of dollars, kind of sat back and listened and said to himself, am I really meeting my client's objectives? So it all started with that thought from Pete, and we've evolved into what we are today. So that was one of our first themes. Second theme that we moved into was really, a building upon our theme from 2016, which was, what does it mean to become the advisor of the future? I think, in part, becoming the advisor of the future is really reinventing yourself as a professional advisor. I think that we've learned that there's kind of three types of SEPAs out there in the marketplace, and that each SEPA kind of uses their training and the methodology and the content in different ways to either be a better collaborator, a better owner engager, or perhaps even the value advisor that really manages the whole methodology. But I think 2017 really challenged us, again, building upon becoming the advisor of the future, to really look at ourselves and challenge ourselves to do just that, to really become more than just an accountant, more than a wealth manager, more than an attorney, really kind of transform ourselves into the advisors that owners really need to really help build value in and transition their company, whether that be to a third party, whether that be to their employees, or whether that be to their sons or daughters or brothers or sisters or somewhere inside of that family. I think that when we look at the SEPA training and we've looked at some of the comments and feedback that we've gotten, a lot of people talk about SEPA training being transformational education. So we really focused 2017, kind of also building on the 10 years of SEPA as evolution, or really the reinventing of ourselves as a professional advisor. The theme that we took into our conference this year was triggering owner action, real stories, real results, real advice, real results. And so if you looked at kind of that theme, and I just spoke on this in Nashville, a presentation built upon this theme this week, and next week I'll be up with our friends in Wisconsin and in Madison and Milwaukee speaking on the same thing. But this is really the overriding theme for us at the Exit Planning Institute and for our certified exit planning advisors and partners, is that we're going to start to really focus on what triggers that owner action. We're going to really look at some real case studies, really look and evaluate some real owners and understand how the training and methodology and process that we are now equipped with really helps us to do that. What we found is that it was frankly boils down to two things. Number one, you have to be armed with that practical, proven process that's relatable and understandable to a business owner, that has key deliverables, key metrics, has a nice flow, creates a nice rhythm and a roadmap to an eventual exit that's clearly kind of understandable and projectable and predictable. That's number one. But if we looked at ourselves as advisors, if we can kind of change our I guess, for lack of better words, our behaviors a little bit, and really start to venture into how do we best understanding how do we best interact with our business owners, being armed with the best methodology and process in the world probably wouldn't be enough. And so we started to investigate these kind of changes in behaviors, really all focused on becoming a better educator to the business owner, not just focused on managing their investment or building value in their company, or giving them financial or legal advice, but really just overall becoming a better entangled advisor, so that when that owner looked to the pool of advisors that owner might interact with in any given day or any given month or year, that they always look to the certified exit planning advisor as their most trusted advisor, as their most entangled advisor into their business, personal, and financial lives. And so the combination of having some of these behavior changes, which really sum up to understanding that business owners do want to transition their business, but they need more education to get there. And we'll talk about that later on in this kind of recap and projection. But understanding that if we can kind of change evolve or reinvent our behaviors a little bit, and to become a little bit more of an educator, that we will then eventually trigger owner action and get them to focus on the now versus the later, and start to really actively plan and participate in the value building that needs to be done to eventually transition their business. Because I think the time is now. I think some of the trends that we're certainly seeing in the marketplace is that baby boomers are certainly getting older. We'll talk about that in the 2018, I think, trends that we'll see happen. For the first time ever, I think we're seeing owners more active or more interested in understanding what's all involved in the exit of their business than we ever have before. So the time is certainly now. A lot of the activities and growth that we saw as an EPI community was really through what we consider the cornerstone of EPI, which is our chapter growth. When you look inside, frankly, the professional advisory community, whether it's valuation, whether it's mergers and acquisitions, whether it's exit planning, there's not a lot of folks that are able to do what the EPI community can do as it relates to the involvement of our chapter. Certainly, if you look at our competing organizations of BEI or Pinnacle, they don't even have this kind of practice group or community sprawled throughout the United States. So I'm very proud to say that about 20 active chapters that we have, we're able to produce research, partnerships, events, education, solutions, and really build a fantastic regional community that not only creates awareness about exit planning and the benefits of proper planning, but also acts as a professional development tool for those advisors, and even more so acts as a kind of a connector to the business owner community, where they can also provide benefits to their end users, their business owner clients. What you'll also see, the chapters that we do have kind of sprawled throughout the United States are in blue. And what you'll also see is that there's 3 that are left remaining that will launch in probably the first 6 months of 2018. In fact, the Long Island chapter will launch here just in a couple of weeks. We'll be traveling there to launch that chapter, and quickly thereafter, and I believe probably the second quarter, you'll see Philadelphia launch, and you'll also see Denver, Colorado launch as well. So we'll even strengthen up to about 23 or 24. What you're seeing in the chapter community as well is that regions, now that they've had such a significant impact, are being really subdivided into particular cities. So if you look at the Southern California community, we used to have the Southern California chapter, which still exists today. However, they primarily serve the Orange County region. Then now we've launched Greater Los Angeles, and now just recently to end the year in 2017 launched San Diego. Same things happening in perhaps Pennsylvania. Same things happening over in the New York City area too, with now Manhattan and Long Island being covered. Uniquely enough, up in Madison, Wisconsin, our Wisconsin chapter has, frankly, 1 chapter, 2 cities. So Madison, Wisconsin, and Milwaukee are about give or take an hour and a half or 2 hours away. And what they're doing now is virtual live education, so that the speaker will be live in one city, but they'll be broadcasting to the city next door, so that those folks that want to attend and be active in the chapter have one in their backyard and don't necessarily have to make that long drive there and back. So some pretty significant momentum that our chapter network, led by our SEPAs and partners, have really done. Our chapter network was able to produce over 150 meetings this year, quite a bit of meetings, quite a bit of engagement there. We hosted 7 different owners events, from our kind of one-day symposium style events to our half-day owner forum style events. One of the biggest marks that I think we made, and it was frankly, I give most of the credit to Brooke Norman, our Vice President of Marketing, who looked at the research that some of our original kind of SEPAs did back in 2013 from a national level, being that of the State of Owner Readiness Survey, and said, what if we took that survey and really started, instead of from a national level, took it into our chapter communities and started to try to understand our micro markets. And so several different chapters, or several different even non-chapter cities, got together with a group of advisors to conduct this State of Owner Readiness survey in more of a regional capacity, really to understand 2 things. One, kind of right out of the gate, by understanding my local community, I could serve those local business owners even better. I could also serve those maybe small business development centers or universities, or even family business development centers that exist as a part of those communities, and serve those business owners better. And then on a national level, we could start to see how the communities stack up, because as we kind of all know, that different communities have different types of businesses, are known for different things. And so we're trying to understand industry to industry, area to area across the United States, how does that all work? So we were able to complete 5 micro market reports. 5 are running right now in 2018. We've had over 60 advisor partners and over 12, I think there was 12 academic and media partners, all a part of this State of Owner Readiness research that happened. You guys can visit that at ownerreadiness.com. The SEPA program put through, I'm happy to say, 200 new certified exit planning advisors. Our February class that's coming up here in about a month in February in Atlanta is completely sold out. So I think that you see the relevance of becoming, or the importance of becoming certified in exit planning is more top of mind than it ever has been. So our SEPA community our certified exit planning advisors now have grown to over 800, and I think that we'll be at the 1,000 member mark here very soon. We also successfully hosted another exit planning summit, and which has been kind of an evolution. So if you're kind of one of the original SEPAs on the call today, you can remember our annual Exit Planning Institute conference. That has since kind of then morphed into our international summit, which then now has morphed into the Exit Planning Summit. It's really its separate brand. It's powered by EPI and SEPAs, but really it's its separate brand. So whether you're a CEXP or a CBEC or a CEPA, or any other type of advisor, media partner, business owner, you're coming to the Exit Planning Summit. It is really the place to go for networking, solutions, education all around exit planning. And so a big, I think, win for the EPI and SEPA community in 2017. If you're also, I guess, wondering if you saw that, you probably saw that my team here at the Exit Planning Institute was frankly pulled off what I thought was a horrible idea at first, as we laughed around our lounge talking about different solutions. As you might have known, our summit this year was located in Naples, Florida at the Ritz-Carlton there, right on the beach. Beautiful resort, and we're real excited to have it there. However, they got hit by that hurricane, and so we were forced to make a business decision. Do we, one, take the conference online and do it totally virtual, keep it the same days and keep it totally virtual? Do we cancel the conference and hopefully make it up at some later time? Or frankly, do we move the conference, hold the dates, because we know everybody has the dates, but move the conference to a quote-unquote safe zone? So in about 1 week, probably even less, probably about 2 days, my team here at the Exit Planning Institute was able to take a conference of about 200 people, about 20 different sponsors, and numerous different educational sessions over 2 days. Take that full conference, pick it up, move it from Naples, Florida, all the way to Scottsdale, Arizona, where we hosted it at the Fairmont Princess. We had about 70% of our attendees show up. We had almost all of our sponsors and almost all of our sessions. I think we only had to replace one speaker due to travel because of that hurricane. So if I didn't think I had a great team already, I could tell you that that certainly is, I think, a shining moment here. So if you're a part of that event, you kind of saw that, but certainly another big accomplishment inside of the EPI community in 2017. So now I'd like to before we talk about what we're going to do in 2018, I'd like to talk about what are our trends and what are we seeing going on in, I guess, the industry today. So this is what, I kind of got together with our chapter president, sat down with my key managers here, talked to Chris, and even some of my own findings. As last year I put in 228 days on the road, visiting our SEPA programs, our owners forums, our chapters, and other conferences that we attend and participate in. This is kind of what I believe, not necessarily the M&A market, but more specific to what we're seeing inside of the exit planning market, if you will. So our state of owner readiness research has shown that about on average 67% of owners are attempting to transition over the next 5 years. And I mention this because I think it's significant. If you look at some of our original research, or perhaps some of the generally accepted statistics, it shows that about 50% of owners are indicating they want to transition over the next 5 years. That number has grown by almost 20%, where in 2017, via our regional state of owner readiness research, we are finding that 67% of owners are wanting to transition in the next 5 years. We found that 60% of owners would engage an advisor if they, meaning the advisor, took the time to educate them properly. If you ever sat on some of my webinars, we sometimes talk about what we call the middle 60%. If you looked at that, what we found in 2017 is that on one end of the spectrum, 10% of owners are already doing something to actively prepare for their transition, which is good. On the opposite side of the spectrum, 30% of owners would never do anything, won't do anything at all, which is unfortunate but true, which leaves us with a middle 60. And that almost breaks down, that almost splits 50-50. Half of that middle 60 would do something with their advisor if they simply just took the time to engage them in these types of conversations and engage them in the appropriate ways. For example, not telling them the right thing to do, but listening to what they have to say, right? Taking the time to share insights, share research, share books, take them to an educational event to help to really empower them to take them to the next level. The other 50% of that would do something if you just sent them down some kind of educational track. Again, owners do want to transition. They are interested in talking about exit planning. They just don't know how. That's something that they've never done. It's uncharted territory, and frankly, it's uncomfortable. But 60% of owners are indicating in 2017 that they would engage an advisor if the advisor just simply took the time to educate them appropriately or properly. We're also finding at the state of owner readiness level, we ask a question in there that owners answer, and it's really, do you kind of somewhat agree, 100% agree, somewhat agree, disagree, kind of a range of answers there. But what we're finding is when we ask the business owners, is exit planning important to both my future personally and the future of my business, we're finding that it ranges between 80 and 99% of owners are agreeing with that statement. So it's certainly relevant. We're also finding that between the half-day owners forums and the one-day symposium style events to the kind of quarterly roundtables or even online education, we're finding that owner attendance at owner-facing events created by SEPAs or EPI were not only highly attended, but highly recommended as well. So if you kind of look at the 4 bullet points, I think it also jives with the baby boomer range, right? So in the next 10 years, I think the youngest boomer is about 52, 53. All of them will be over the age of 60, and the oldest will be something like 80 or 82. So I think the time has come. I think that's why you see this momentum building across the entire American economy as it relates to the transition of business, is that it's realistic, I think, for us to think that owners will start to at least at minimum take some chips off the table and maybe have a kind of a lengthy exit, but nonetheless, exit planning, I think, is in the face of owners more so than it ever has. Some of our other findings is that SEPAs are integrating EPI content into what they do content and process and what they do more and more, and it's actually working to engage owners. So the methodology, the value acceleration methodology, came out in November of 2013. It was adopted as our official methodology in January of 2014. It became a core part of our SEPA curriculum. Chris's book launched in 2016 and has been out now for a couple of years, or a year and a half, almost a couple of years. And so, I do see people utilizing that methodology and saying that it works. There's more and more people that are building almost their entire personal brand or company brand off these kind of philosophies and concepts. We're seeing a high demand for collaborative content and research from colleges and universities. Drexel University, Seton Hall, Stony Brook, Stanford, Cornell, USC, all folks that have approached EPI or groups of SEPAs to do things even deeper. Me personally, I have two really good stories with the Cornell and Stanford folks. There's groups of MBA students that are actually investigating exit planning as a part of the core curriculum of their executive MBA program. I've had numerous phone calls with these folks and pretty interesting stories that I think if you follow our weekly update, which comes out on Saturdays, you'll see some of them released over the course of the next 6 or so months. We're also seeing a high demand for customized programming from family business centers and their advisors. For example, we have seen the Small Business Development Centers of America potentially talk about developing something that's specific to businesses $5 million and under. We have talked to many national offices trying to use the national offices' philosophies and concepts with EPI's philosophy and concepts and kind of customize some of that organization. So we've seen a higher demand for that. We've also seen a high demand for content from business journals and magazines. And we've also seen SEPAs utilizing the EPI training and EPI support in really 3 different ways we've emerged as SEPAs. And this is, I think, frankly, a big deal for me, because I think that if you talk to some of our competitors or if you talk within the marketplace, what I've heard is that EPI's certified exit planning advisors actually don't do the work of exit planners. And I think it depends on what you believe an exit planner is. How do you define exit planning? If I define exit planning, it's somebody that's putting the owner, their family, and their management teams at the center of the process. If you define an exit planner as somebody that's here to change the outcome for business owners, who is an educator, who is a collaborator, and who is a thought leader, I would absolutely say that not only are certified exit planning advisors doing the work, but they're leading the work. And so what we see our certified exit planners doing, though, different than just purely doing and charging for exit planning work, is that we break down in 3 categories. Number 1, some people are out there utilizing the training to become a better owner engager, to do what I talked about in some of our themes when I opened our webinar here today, talking to owners about this value acceleration methodology, what it takes to exit your business. They'll never actually charge for the services, but they're here to educate the business owner, and they're here to become a better collaborator. If you can have every advisor on an exit planning team be well versed in the value acceleration methodology and kind of driving towards a common organizing principle, which is the master planning, the alignment of the 3 legs of the stool, and the common goal of doing a triggering event, I think our clients are much better off. So people are using it to become a better owner engager. Second, some people aren't managing the entire process, but some people are just doing the triggering event engagement, which is the combination of the business valuation and the enterprise value assessment, right? The assessment of business, personal, and financial goals or aspects of the business and the owner. And so some people are primarily doing just the triggering event engagement. And then the last group, what we call typically our value advisors, are somebody like perhaps Chris or Sean Hutchinson. They're actually out there doing the work from start to finish. They're doing the triggering event, they're having a monthly engagement, and they're educating the owner on all of their options and throughout the entire process, working with both the advisory team and the owner's teams as well. I would challenge that any one of those 3 people are absolutely exit planners doing exit planning work, but that's what we've also found. So let's talk about what's next for 2018. So kind of knowing that marketplace that I just described and I believe where we're going, how is EPI and or our certified exit planning advisors and other partners going to respond? So here's kind of a high level look at what we're thinking. Number 1, we're going to certainly have SEPA growth. We've added a fifth program here, so if you want to go to earnsepa.com and kind of check it out, we'll be back at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business spring and fall, May and November of 2018. We're going down, instead of in San Francisco, we're going back down to San Diego. We have the 3 chapters down there. There's a lot of activity going on down there, a lot of chances to collaborate with the candidates in the class and the SEPAs and advisors we have in that Southern California neighborhood or community. We'll be going to the Estancia Learning Center and Resort there. We're back in February at our sold-out Georgia State University SEPA program there, right in downtown Atlanta. And then new addition, we'll be going over to the Phoenix Scottsdale area, where we'll host it at a Marriott resort there called the Buttes. I believe it's actually at Tempe. Don't quote me on that, but nonetheless, it's called Marriott the Buttes. Check it out online. It's a beautiful resort. Great place to bring your family and hang out. That'll be in October, so from what I understand, the Phoenix area is a great place to be in the fall time. We're coming out with what we call SEPA 3.0, so we're making that next evolution of SEPA. The kind of SEPA 2.0 was back in 2014 when we implemented the value acceleration methodology. We're starting to incorporate some new faculty members. Almost all of our faculty members now are also SEPAs, so they're not only understand the methodology themselves, but they have an expertise within it. We're going to continue to have advisor development and ongoing support. If you were at our 2016 or 2017 summit, we debuted a tiered platform, kind of a unique platform. In the past, as a SEPA, you really had only one option for membership, if you will, which was your credential or is your credentialed membership. That's certainly going to remain. Building on that, you could also tack on an additional membership or additional benefits called the Practice Mastermind program. In fact, for those of you that are on this webinar that are in my Practice Mastermind group, we have our first session later this afternoon after this webinar. This program in particular is really designed to go around what we call one-page strategic framework and use it as almost like a mini Vistage group or a mini Chief Executive Boards group, but for advisors, so that we're always holding each other accountable. We're always have a group that we can go to and talk about exit planning services or the wide variety of professional advisory services that fit within the exit planning ecosystem. Last but certainly not least is the much anticipated owner engagement program. And so this is a business development and marketing program rooted in person, peer-to-peer facilitated education. So we have about 10 people that are signed up, that are coming through this owner engagement model now. It's open to everybody. It's a $10,000 a year engagement. It primarily gives you the how-to, the content for the owner roundtable series. It also gives you some initial assessments, so you can kind of self-assess or have some initial assessments yourself that you can work with Chris on. Saying that, it gives you direct access to Chris Snider and Brooke Norman as well, and our team here for additional support and coaching. So that's something that's being debuted here in the first quarter. We actually have our first Discovery Day training session here in Cleveland coming up, I believe, on the 23rd and 24th or somewhere in that kind of that week's time frame. So nonetheless, pretty proud of launching this Owner Roundtable series. That's really an owner engagement program. I've already mentioned a little bit about our monthly member access webinars. I highly recommend you tune into these once a month. You can hear SEPA success stories, learn about new content being launched in the EPI Member Center, learn about different marketing tips, or even leveraging research, kind of everything that there is for SEPAs to do. Last but not least, I challenged my staff a year ago my team here to build a robust online education center, which we're venturing towards. We have about 10 different series now that will happen month to month that you can tune into, anywhere from a 2-hour deep dive case study session to a kind of an introductory style 101 level webinar. Nonetheless, I would highly recommend you pay attention to those and try to log on. Some have CE, some don't. We also already launched a brand new program called Exit Planning Practice Launch. So it's a shortened program, but it's with Chris Snider directly, and he's going to teach you how to launch an exit planning practice and how to engage your business owners better. It's going to be hosted 4 times per year, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. That's our first brand new program for 2018. Certainly, last but not least, are 2 major items. I saved them for last because they're probably most near and dear to my heart. Number 1 is the promotion of utilizing a SEPA and general SEPA awareness in the marketplace, whether that's to fellow advisors, whether that's to the end user, the business owner, anywhere in between. Brooke Norman and her marketing team and me and Chris are very much working very hard on media and academic partnerships, national account recognition and compliance. We're talking about the use of videos and podcasts. We're updating our member portal with more up-to-date and significant tools and resources. And there's going to be thought leadership opportunities for SEPAs to speak, to write content in collaboration with other SEPAs, and potentially even Chris and Brooke. All things to when somebody thinks about exit planning, they're thinking about certified exit planning advisors. Last but not least, our exit planning summit will be hosted in Nashville this year. I think the theme will shake out to be exit is now. Some of the most, I think, significant things there will be that we're going to incorporate and get back to some of our kind of small group work that we like in our SEPA programs and some of our summits. We're going to incorporate a whole case study into this summit so that every single presentation that you hear, whether it's a breakout or a general session or even a keynote speech, has some tie back to this case study that will follow. We'll also break into small groups. You'll follow a group around as well, a part of that summit. We'll have our charity give back social, and again, it'll be this year we're moving from a day and a half to 2 full days. So it'll be Monday and Tuesday, September 24th and 25th. I'd recommend everybody arrive early on Sunday and stay around on Wednesdays to continue your networking and some of the post-summit workshops that we'll have. It's at the Hilton Downtown Nashville Hotel. If you haven't been there, I was just there on Tuesday. It's literally like a half block off Broadway. So if you're familiar with the area, it's right in the heart of all of that kind of the when you think Nashville and you think of the music and the bars, it's the Hilton Downtown Nashville is right there. We're very happy to partner with our local chapter that's there. They have a great leadership team, a very strong chapter. They'll be helping us plan our charity give back social. Last year, we raised about $7,000 for charity, and we donated another $5,000 to Mr. Andy Rayburn's charity local here in Cleveland. So our SEPAs, thank you again, and all of our partners there that participated in that summit. We were able to do a lot of good stuff for a lot of charitable partners within the organization. All right, so let's talk about, as we kind of conclude, I want you to remember a few things. So if you haven't been tuned in, you've been listening, tune in now, because here's the big wrap up. 3 things I want you to think about when you venture yourself or your practice into 2018. Number 1, utilize EPI as the continued platform. We always have said that EPI should act as your launching pad or platform for creating awareness, thought leadership, research, innovation. At the end of the day, we are here to serve you. We are here to really continue to build this momentum. So when you think about Exit Planning Institute, I ask that you think about us as your resource and partner in exit planning. Number 2, if you've heard me speak in the past, you've heard me talk about this quite a bit. Chris has incorporated into a lot of the speeches and talks he's been doing as well. I just think it's a great quote by Oprah as it hits the exit planning community. So I challenge you in 2018, both you and your business owner clients, are you going to be prepared when the opportunity knocks to transition your business, or you hope you're going to be lucky? If you look at the quote, it says, I believe luck is preparation meeting opportunity. If you hadn't been so prepared when the opportunity came along, you wouldn't have been so lucky. I think it hits our owners right in the heart. I think that the way, if you really ask me, how do I trigger owner action, Scott, the way you do it is not only intrigue the mind of the business owner, but also hit the heart of the business owner as well. And so I think our methodology and the books that they might read and the articles they might read and the coffee meetings they might have with you certainly intrigue their mind as business professionals. But as family people, as people that care about their employees, that care about their vendors, that care about their partners, I think this quote hits them right, those business owners right in the heart. If you think about the 5 Ds, death, disability, divorce, so on and so forth, are you going to be, as a business owner, prepared for when that tragic accident happens? Or are you going to hope that you are lucky? If you get a private equity company knock on your door saying, I think that you're a great purchase for my portfolio, and you have an opportunity of a lifetime sitting in front of you as a business owner, are you going to be prepared when that opportunity comes? Or are you going to hope to be lucky? For you, the advisor, sitting on this call with me here today, when your owner client calls you up or knocks on your door and says, you've been providing me amazing business advice, whether that's investment advice, accounting advice, legal advice, you've been providing me great advice for many years. Perhaps you're even in the second generation. I respect you because you've been with my father for 30 or 40 years. When they're ready to come to you and say, I'm ready to transition my business, are you the advisor sitting on the webinar today? Are you guys going to hope to be prepared when that happens? Are you going to be hopefully lucky that you know what the heck you're talking about so that you can hope that that advisor does turn to you and that you could execute on their kind of dreams and promises? Last but not least, if you did join us at this year's Exit Planning Summit, on the back of the 10th anniversary coffee mugs, we put a powerful quote from a powerful man in the WWE called Randy Orton. If you're laughing, maybe your sons or daughters or perhaps even you, watch good old-fashioned WWE wrestling. There's a wrestler in there named Randy Orton. In all seriousness, though, when we saw this quote, it made us think about our exit planning community and, frankly, how proud we are of it. The quote is very simple. In this business, it is all about making an impact. When I think about this quote, I think about SEPAs. I think that SEPAs are thought leaders. I think we're more than just experts. I think we lead a community. I think people turn to us, whether it's an owner, an academic, a fellow advisor, whether it's somebody in the media, they turn to us as certified exit planning advisors and partners inside of this community for this type of advice. Really, in reflecting in 2017 on the past 10 years of SEPA, I think we've certainly evolved. We've become risk takers. We've certainly become influencers. We've become innovators. In 2017, SEPAs, combined with other partners, have taken on owner events, have built owner solutions, owner programs, advisor programs to advance themselves, have created industry research, and created some of the most powerful regional exit planning communities there are today, all rolling the dice, not knowing if it's actually going to work or not. EPI, from a global standpoint, is approved by over 18 designations. We pass compliance for 10 different national offices, and we're in 15 different countries, and we'll host SEPA programs not only in the United States, but in Australia and Canada in 2018. SEPAs are making a lasting impact. They are creating a powerful message that cannot be ignored. They are changing outcomes for business owners because in this industry, it's all about making an impact. So I appreciate everybody joining our webinar here today. You'll probably see this powerful theme, in my opinion, carry over here today. From the bottom of the Snider family's hearts and everybody on my team here at the Exit Planning Institute and Snider Premier Growth Companies, we're nothing at the end of the day without our clients, without the advisors that participate in our programs or in our chapters, without our partners that support us as well. So a big Happy New Year, happy holidays, and a big thank you to everybody inside of our EPI community. With that, I will open it up to any last minute kind of questions. If you ever have any questions at all, you could reach out to Josh Koza at the number there at our EPI offices, and him or Drew, a part of our clients experience team, will make sure that you guys are all well taken care of. So I'm going to pause for a quick second to see if there's any questions. First question is, what is the easiest way for me to find other SEPAs inside of my city? So good question. There's a Find a SEPA tab on the EPI website. Interestingly enough, we are kind of launching a phase 3 of our website within the next few months, so kind of stay tuned to another facelift. But nonetheless, if you go to resources and you go to Find a SEPA, you can search by state would be your best bet. You could also search by keyword, but if I'm really being honest with you, I think the most efficient way to do this is to look by state. So you can sort of look for SEPAs near you. Next question is, do you accept submissions to speak at the summit? 100% absolutely. Not only if you're not at the summit, we have many different programs. So if you're looking to speak at one of our chapters, if you're looking to travel and speak at one of our chapters, if you're looking to speak at the summit, I would ask you to do really 2 or 3 simple things. 1, what is the title of the topic? What is the title of your session? What is the session summary? And what are your 5 learning objectives? If you could put those 3 things together in email form, email it directly to me, then I will make sure it gets into the proper hands, and it's going to have to get reviewed by me and Chris anyway. So if you just send it directly to me, we'll be able to review it. We can interact directly together and then pass it on to the right folks. But anything, if you want to speak the chapters, if you want to do a webinar, if you want to speak at the summit, those opportunities do exist for SEPAs and non-SEPAs. So just please send me those types of things via email. Next question is, will this presentation be posted to the website and where? So typically it's sent around. So I don't know, Brooke sometimes posts it to the blog, might post it to a podcast or LinkedIn. It's usually sent around to all of the attendees, or at least all the registrants. So if for some reason you couldn't attend or wanted to hear something again, we'll make sure to send both the presentation and the recording to everybody that was here or not here as well, and then look for it on the blog or within the weekly update as well. If you're a certified exit planning advisor, one of the benefits of being a SEPA is that all of our presentations that we do online are dumped into the member center, so you'll always have access to those as well. All right, folks, well, I really appreciate everybody's time here today. Again, I travel quite a bit, so if I'm in your town, you'll probably know about it. I'd love to meet up for a cup of coffee or a drink or dinner or lunch. If you're going to the AM and AA conference next week in Miami, Florida, make sure to stop by the EPI booth. Josh Koza, our client experience manager, will be there. Make sure to interact with him, and he could probably answer any questions if you have any follow-up from this as well. With that, folks, you guys have a great rest of your day and hopefully a great weekend. Again, very happy New Year, and look forward to working with you all here very soon. Thanks.